The colony rested on the edge of the wastelands, far from Earth and far from safety. Life here was hard but steady. People worked the fields, repaired machines, and tried to build a new home on this strange planet. But among them was one figure who never belonged. She was the widow. Everyone knew her. Everyone avoided her. She walked with her head covered, her steps slow but restless, as if she carried a secret too heavy for her shoulders. Some whispered that she lost her mind after her alien husband died in the war. Others said she cursed anyone who dared to stand near her. Children were told to stay away, and even soldiers guarding the walls turned their backs when she passed. But she spoke. Always she spoke. "Do not trust the silence," she warned, standing in the marketplace. Her voice was thin, but it carried across the crowd. "The stars hide danger. They are closer than you think." Farmers shook their heads. Traders laughed. "Crazy woman," they muttered, "always talking about shadows." Still, her words clung to the air, uneasy and sharp, like the cold wind that swept through the colony gates at night. When the sun set, she sat alone outside her broken hut. She rocked back and forth, her face lifted to the sky. The stars here were brighter than on Earth, scattered like jewels across black velvet. To her, they were not beautiful. To her, they were eyes watching, waiting. She whispered to them in the darkness. "I see you. I hear you. They will not believe me, but I know you are near." Neighbors pressed their shutters closed. They told themselves she was insane. Yet some lay awake, unable to shake the sound of her voice. A young soldier often noticed her from the east wall. He was not like the others who laughed at her. He did not approach, but he watched. Her eyes were not the eyes of a mad woman. They were the eyes of someone who had seen too much. He wondered what she had truly lost in that war. He wondered why her fear seemed more real than the gossip that stained her name. But doubt is a dangerous thing in a colony. Doubt leads to unrest, and unrest had to be silenced. One day, as she cried out in the market, a group of men approached. Their leader sneered. "Enough! Your madness weakens us. You spread fear where there is no threat." She lifted her hands. They trembled, but her voice did not. "You will regret this. You will regret ignoring me." They are moving closer even now. The crowd turned away, unwilling to meet her eyes. Mothers pulled their children closer. No one came to defend her. The men seized her arms. She did not fight, only cried, "Blind fools! You are leading yourselves into their jaws." The soldier from the wall clenched his fists. His training told him to stay still, but his gut twisted. Something inside whispered, "This is wrong." The men dragged her through the streets as the last sun dipped below the horizon. Dust rose around their boots. She stumbled but did not fall silent. Even when they pulled her beyond the gates, her voice rang out in the night air. "You will see. You will see when it is too late." They reached the wastelands, a wide stretch of cracked earth that swallowed sound. There, the leader pulled out a rough sack and forced it over her head. Her cries turned muffled. They tied her wrists with coarse rope and pushed her down onto the hard ground. "Leave her," one spat. "Let the desert take her. We are safer without her madness." Their footsteps faded, swallowed by the emptiness of the wastelands. The widow lay still. Her chest rose and fell, each breath shallow beneath the sack. Her voice came soft, almost like a prayer. "If no one listens, all will fall." Back inside the colony, lights flickered in windows. Doors locked. People comforted themselves with the thought that she was gone, that the madness had ended. But in the soldier's mind, her words would not die. He had seen fear before in battle in men who knew they were about to lose. Her fear was the same. He turned his eyes to the horizon, where the stars glowed like cold fire. For a moment, he thought he saw movement, shadows slipping between the lights. He blinked and they were gone. The night pressed down heavier than before. The colony slept uneasily, unaware that silence was not safety. Silence was warning. And out in the wastelands, beneath the sack and ropes, the widow whispered to the stars. "They are already here." The wastelands stretched far and empty, a sea of cracked stone and dry wind. The widow lay bound on the ground, her face hidden under the rough sack. Darkness pressed close, and the cold of night bit into her skin. Every breath was heavy, muffled by the fabric. She whispered to herself, but no one was there to hear. In the colony, the men who left her behind returned without a word. They brushed the dust off their clothes and entered their homes as if nothing had happened. To them, the problem was solved. To them, the silence of the night meant peace. But it was not peace. The young soldier stood watch on the east wall. His eyes kept drifting toward the wastelands. He could almost picture her lying there, alone and broken, whispering through the sack. He told himself she was insane, that she deserved no pity. Yet the image of her trembling hands and desperate voice clung to him. Something inside refused to let him forget. The desert wind carried strange sounds. At first, it was only the howl of air scraping across sharp rocks. But then it shifted, low hums, faint clicks, patterns that did not belong to wind. The soldier froze. He strained his ears, but when he listened too hard, the sounds vanished. Still, his heart beat faster. Out in the wastelands, the widow heard them too. Even with the sack smothering her, she could sense it. The distant pulse of movement, like claws dragging across stone. Her chest tightened. She whispered again, though her lips were dry and her voice weak. "They are near. They are near." Her husband had warned her long ago, before he was taken by war. He had told her that the hunters never stopped. They searched for weakness, for colonies too proud to prepare. And now she feared they had found another. Hours passed. The moons rose higher, their light pale and cold. The colony grew quiet, every house asleep. Only the guards at the wall kept their posts, though most paid little attention. The soldier alone could not shake his unease. Finally, he turned to his fellow guard. "Strange sounds tonight," he said carefully. The other man laughed. "You hear ghosts because of that crazy woman. Forget her. She is finished." The soldier forced a smile, but his gut told him otherwise. Meanwhile, the widow struggled against the ropes. Her wrists burned where the coarse fibers cut into her skin. She twisted, kicked, but her strength was fading. Each movement drained her further. Still, she refused to lie still. Her whispers became louder, harsher, as though someone, anyone, might hear. "Not madness," she hissed. "Warning. You will see." Above her, the stars glittered like eyes. She thought she saw shadows dart across them, blotting light for only a moment before vanishing. No one else would notice, but she knew. They were scouts, watching, waiting. Back in the colony, a dog chained near the gates began to bark wildly. His growls echoed in the still night. People stirred in their homes, annoyed, but none dared step outside. Dogs did not bark at nothing. The soldier's chest tightened again. He looked once more into the wastelands. Something shimmered in the distance, like heat waves, though the air was freezing. The widow felt it too. A vibration in the ground, faint but steady, like the tread of something heavy moving closer. Panic clawed at her, but she forced herself to breathe. If this was the beginning, then her death would serve no purpose. She had to survive. She had to make them see. She rubbed her wrists against the edge of a jagged rock half buried in the dirt. Slowly, painfully, she worked at the ropes. Each cut stung, but each cut brought hope. Still, her body trembled with exhaustion. Inside the colony, the soldier whispered under his breath, "She might be right." His mind flashed back to her last words before they dragged her away. "They are already here." He shivered despite the warmth of his armor. The night dragged on, heavy and endless. Every minute felt longer than the last. The soldier's fellow guard yawned and leaned against the wall, careless. The soldier kept his eyes fixed on the wastelands. He couldn't explain why, but something told him he had to. And then he thought he saw movement. Not an animal, not a person, something larger. Something that bent the air around it as if the night itself was warping. He blinked hard. It was gone. Or maybe it had never been there at all. But the widow knew. Even blind under the sack, she knew. She pressed harder against the rock, desperate to free her hands. Blood ran warm along her wrists, but finally, one rope snapped loose. She gasped, dragging her hand out, trembling but free. Her body shook with weakness, but her spirit burned. She tore the sack from her head and gulped the cold air. Above her, the sky seemed too alive, too restless. She whispered again, louder now, as if speaking to the stars themselves. You cannot hide. I know you are here. Far away, in the colony, the soldier's heart pounded. He did not know why, but he felt the same words echo in his mind. The punishment was meant to silence her. Instead, it had given her proof. And soon, the colony would learn that silence did not mean safety. Silence meant the hunters were close. The next morning, the colony was calm, but the young soldier felt no peace. The suns had risen bright and steady, lighting the stone houses and busy streets, yet inside him there was only restlessness. People smiled, traded goods, and carried water as if nothing had happened the night before. The widow's name was not spoken. To them she had been removed, forgotten, erased. But the soldier could not forget. All night, his mind had replayed the sound of her voice, muffled under the sack, warning again and again. They are already here. He had tried to convince himself it was only madness, only the ranting of a broken woman. Yet when he closed his eyes, he saw the shimmer in the wastelands, the way the dog barked at the gates, the strange clicking sounds carried on the wind. Too many signs. Too many pieces that did not fit the story the colony wanted to believe. At breakfast, he sat with two other guards. One laughed about how peaceful the night had been. No trouble. No screaming. Finally, the air feels clean. The soldier forced a weak smile, but the words stung him. He remembered the widow's trembling hands and the blood on her wrists. He wanted to speak, but his throat tightened. He had no proof, only doubt. And doubt was dangerous here. Later that day, he walked the outer wall, staring out into the wastelands. The ground stretched for miles, flat and broken, with no movement in sight. Yet his chest tightened with every step, as though something invisible watched from beyond the horizon. He thought of her husband, the alien warrior she had lost. The elders used to speak of him with respect. They said he had saved human settlers during the war, guiding them through fire and blood. If that was true, then why was his widow treated like a curse? Why was her voice silenced instead of heard? The soldier leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. He remembered battles he had seen, the way soldiers sometimes shouted warnings that were ignored, only to be proven right minutes later when enemies struck. Madness and truth could look the same until the moment truth revealed itself. As the suns dipped lower, the colony prepared for evening. Children laughed in the courtyards, merchants packed up their stalls, and farmers returned from the fields. Life looked normal, but the soldier could not shake the tension. His eyes kept searching the distance, waiting for movement. When the moons rose, he took his post again at the wall. The wastelands glowed faintly under silver light. The dog by the gate began to grow restless, growling at shadows. The soldier's fellow guard cursed at it. Stupid beast. It's only the wind. But the soldier knew better. He remembered the same sound the night before. He leaned closer to the gate, straining to hear beyond the dog's growl. At first, there was only silence. Then came the faint hum again, the same strange rhythm, like claws scratching across stone. His breath caught. He looked at the other guard, but the man had already turned away, humming to himself, ignoring everything. The soldier clenched his fists. He wanted to shout, to wake the colony, to say she was right, but he could not. Not yet. His heart raced as he thought of the widow. Had she survived the night? Was she still lying out there, whispering into the dark? He imagined her cutting the ropes, tearing the sack away, staring at the same stars that now watched over him. The soldier swallowed hard. He could not abandon this doubt. It burned inside him, demanding action. He made a decision. When his shift ended, he would slip beyond the gates. He would find her. That night, when the guards switched posts, he walked away casually, pretending to head for his barracks. But instead, he circled back, keeping to the shadows. He moved toward the gate where the dog still growled softly, its ears pointed to the desert. The soldier whispered to it, calming the animal before stepping into the wastelands. The night air was sharp and cold. Each step crunched against cracked stone. The colony lights faded behind him, swallowed by distance. Ahead stretched emptiness, broken only by scattered rocks and low ridges. He kept walking, guided by the pale glow of the moons. Minutes turned into hours, but he did not stop. His gut pulled him forward, urging him to find her. Finally, he saw something, faint movement near a jagged outcrop. He crouched low, heart pounding. It was her. The widow sat slumped against the rock, her hair tangled, her clothes torn. The sack lay beside her, ripped open. Blood stained her wrists where the ropes had cut. She was weak, trembling, but alive. Her lips moved, whispering words to the sky. The soldier approached slowly. "It's me," he said, his voice low. "Don't be afraid." Her eyes flicked to him, hollow but sharp. "You came," she whispered, her voice raw. "You came because you heard them too." The soldier froze. He had not told her what he heard. He had not told anyone. Her lips trembled, but her words were steady. "The hunters, they are close, and your people are blind." The soldier's chest tightened. His doubts became heavier, sharper. It was no longer about madness or pity. It was about survival. He glanced back at the colony lights in the distance, then at the endless wastelands stretching before him. His choice was clear. Return and keep silent, or believe her and face whatever was coming. For the first time, he admitted the truth to himself. He believed her, and believing her meant the colony was in grave danger. The soldier stood frozen under the pale light of the moons, staring at the widow. She looked weak, her face pale and her lips dry, but her eyes still burned with a strange fire. She sat against the jagged rock, ropes frayed at her wrists, the torn sack beside her like a symbol of her punishment. "You should not be here," she whispered. Her voice was broken, yet sharp enough to cut the silence. "If they see you, they will mark you too." The soldier swallowed hard. "I couldn't leave you. Not like this." He lowered himself closer, scanning the shadows around them. "And I heard something last night. I saw something. Tell me, what are they?" The widow's eyes lifted toward the sky. The stars seemed brighter here, further from the colony lights. But to her, they were not stars anymore. They were warnings. "They are hunters," she said softly. "They do not conquer. They do not build. They only destroy. They follow colonies like ours, places too proud to listen. They move silent, watching, until the moment they strike." The soldier frowned, though his stomach twisted. "Hunters? What do they look like?" She shivered, hugging herself. "Shadows in daylight. Monsters at night. My husband saw them before he died. He tried to warn the others, but no one listened. They called him a liar. They called me mad." She met the soldier's eyes, her voice steady now. "But they are real, and they are here." The soldier wanted to argue, wanted to demand proof, but his memory betrayed him. The shimmer he had seen in the distance, the clicking sound in the wind, the restless dog at the gate. Each piece clicked into place like teeth closing around him. Still, he asked, "Why me? Why tell me this?" Her lips curved in something that was not quite a smile. "Because you listened. Even if you tried not to, you listened. The others shut their ears, but your heart stayed open." A faint vibration trembled under the ground. The soldier stiffened. It was subtle, almost unnoticeable, but real. He pressed his hand to the dirt and felt it, like the echo of distant footsteps. The widow nodded slowly. "Do you feel it now? That is not the earth. That is them." The soldier's chest tightened. He rose to his feet and scanned the wastelands. First, the night was empty, but then movement. Thin, tall shapes, barely visible, shifting between rocks as though the air itself bent around them. His breath caught in his throat. They were not clear forms, not yet, but enough to make his skin crawl. "What are they doing?" he whispered. "They are circling," the widow answered. Her voice shook, but not with madness, with knowledge. "Studying the colony. testing its weakness. Tonight they watch. Tomorrow they feed. The soldier gripped the handle of his weapon, though deep inside he knew a single rifle would mean nothing against what he saw. His training told him to run back to the colony, raise the alarm. But his mind screamed another truth. No one would believe him. They would call him mad too. The widow seemed to read his thoughts. If you go back now, they will laugh. They will silence you like they silenced me. But when the first body falls, it will be too late. The soldier's throat tightened. He had never felt fear like this, not even in battle. This was not the fear of dying in combat. This was the fear of knowing death was already coming, and no one was ready for it. The shadows moved again, faster this time. For a heartbeat, the soldier saw one of them clearly under the moonlight. A creature tall as two men, its body thin but strong, its head long with dark pits where eyes should be. The sight chilled his blood. Then, as quickly as it appeared, it melted back into the night. His hands trembled. He turned to the widow. "Why haven't they attacked already?" "Because they want fear first," she said. "They want confusion. When people deny them, when they pretend nothing is wrong, that is when the hunters strike hardest. They will tear the colony apart before it even knows how to fight." The soldier's mind raced. He imagined the families in their small homes, the children laughing in the courtyards, the guards who stood at the gates half asleep. None of them had seen what he had just seen. None of them believed. He looked at the widow, her face lit faintly by the moons. She was weak, broken, cast aside, yet she carried the truth no one else dared to accept. In that moment, he knew he could not leave her. She was the only guide, the only one who understood what was coming. But another question burned inside him. If they are so strong, how can we fight them? Her eyes flickered with sorrow and something else, resolve. "My husband left something behind. A weapon, hidden before he died. It was built for this, though no one believed him when he spoke of it. If we can reach it, we have a chance. If not..." Her voice faded, her gaze falling to the dirt. "Then the colony will burn, just like the others." The soldier clenched his jaw. The choice lay before him. Return to the safety of lies, or step into the truth and risk everything. He looked once more at the shifting shapes on the horizon. The hunters were waiting, patient and hungry. He turned back to the widow. "Show me. Whatever your husband left behind. Show me. I'll believe you." For the first time in years, her eyes softened. She nodded slowly, a spark of hope flickering in her tired face. But the ground trembled again, stronger this time. The hunters were moving closer, and the soldier realized that finding the weapon might already be too late. The colony slept under the calm glow of the twin moons. Children dreamed quietly, traders rested after a long day, and guards leaned lazily against the walls. To them, the night was safe. To them, danger was nothing but rumor. But out in the wastelands, something stirred. The widow sat weakly on the rock, her eyes locked on the horizon. Beside her, the soldier stayed tense, hand gripping his weapon. His body was ready, but his mind spun with fear. The shapes he had seen earlier haunted him still. They were real, too real. Then came the sound. It started low, like a distant hum. The wind carried it across the wastelands, a rhythm not made by nature. Clicks, rattles, and a deep, throbbing beat like drums under the ground. The widow's eyes widened. "It begins," she whispered. The soldier swallowed hard. He turned back toward the colony. Its walls stood strong, but he knew they were only stone and steel. No spirit, no preparation, and the people inside laughing, sleeping, unaware, had no idea that death crept toward them. Suddenly, the dog chained near the gate howled. Its cries ripped through the night, sharp and frantic. The guards shouted, throwing stones to silence it, but the dog pulled against its chain, desperate, as if it saw what humans could not. Then came the first strike. A patrol of 3 men outside the walls never returned. One scream echoed in the distance, sharp and short, then silence. The colony froze. Doors cracked open. Faces peeked out. Confusion spreading like wildfire. "What was that?" someone whispered. "Bandits?" another guessed. The widow shook her head. Her voice was thin but firm. Not bandits. The hunters. The soldier's pulse thundered in his ears. He knew she was right. Moments later, the ground itself trembled. Heavy steps pounded through the wastelands, faster now, closing in. Shadows darted across the horizon, no longer trying to hide. For the first time, the hunters revealed themselves to the human eye. They were taller than men, their limbs long and bent at strange angles. Their bodies shimmered as though wrapped in shifting light, hard to focus on, like looking at water through heat. Their heads were narrow, and from their mouths came a hiss that froze the blood of anyone who heard it. Panic broke inside the colony. Families screamed. Guards fired weapons blindly into the night. The hunters moved too quickly, their bodies twisting away from bullets, their claws slashing through steel like it was cloth. The first gate collapsed under their weight, wood and metal splintering into dust. The soldier raised his rifle, firing shot after shot, but every hit seemed useless. The creatures barely slowed. He cursed under his breath, pulling the widow to her feet. "We need to move. Where is the weapon? Tell me." Her breath shook, but her eyes burned with urgency. "North side, a hidden place beneath the old storage hall. But we cannot reach it yet. They will cut us down." A hunter leapt onto the wall, its claws digging deep into stone. The guard screamed, stabbing with spears, but the creature's tail whipped through the air, sending men flying. One fell lifeless to the ground, his body broken. Children cried in the streets. Mothers dragged them into cellars, slamming doors shut. But wood and stone could not stop claws built to pierce armor. The soldier's chest tightened. He had fought enemies before, but nothing like this. This was not war. This was slaughter. The widow pulled at his arm, her voice trembling. "You must keep them alive long enough to listen. Only then will they follow me. If they do not follow, all will die." He looked into her eyes. For the first time, he saw not madness, not weakness, but a leader buried beneath sorrow. Another hunter crashed into the courtyard, its hiss echoing like thunder. The soldier fired again, aiming for its head. The bullet struck true, and for a moment, the beast staggered. Its body flickered, light bending around it as if it struggled to stay solid. Then, with a shriek, it lunged again. The soldier realized something. "They bleed," he said, panting. "They can be hurt." The widow nodded quickly. "Yes, but not with your weapons alone. You need what my husband left. Without it, they will only keep coming." The colony roared with chaos. Fires lit the night as huts burned. Screams mixed with gunfire, with the hissing of the hunters and the breaking of walls. The soldier grabbed the widow's hand. "Then we go now. If we don't, no one will live to follow us." She hesitated, her body frail, but she nodded. Together they slipped through the panicked crowd, moving toward the north side of the colony. Hunters leapt over rooftops, tearing down whatever stood in their way. One spotted them, its head snapping toward their fleeing forms. It screeched and lunged, claws cutting into the dirt. The soldier spun, firing at its legs enough to slow it. "Run!" he shouted. The widow stumbled, but her eyes never left the path ahead. She whispered, "Please, let us reach it in time." Behind them, the colony screamed under the weight of its first attack. Families ran in every direction. Guards died with weapons still in hand, and the hunters moved like shadows through firelight. The soldier and the widow ran, their hearts beating as one, their only hope buried beneath the old storage hall. But even as they fled, the soldier knew this was only the beginning. The first attack had come. The next would be worse. And if they failed to find the weapon, the colony would not see another dawn. The soldier and the widow stumbled through the smoke-filled streets, moving fast toward the north side of the colony. Around them, panic tore the night apart. Houses burned, guards shouted, and hunters leapt from walls with terrifying speed. Every shadow seemed alive. The widow's frail body leaned heavily on the soldier, but her eyes burned brighter than ever. She whispered again and again, "We must reach it. We must." The old storage hall stood near the edge of the colony, half forgotten. Its roof sagged, its doors rusted, but beneath it lay something more important than anyone had ever imagined. The soldier kicked open the door, pulling her inside. The hall smelled of dust and iron, untouched for years. "Where?" he asked urgently, scanning the darkness. The widow pointed with a trembling hand toward the far wall. "There, beneath the floorboards." The soldier rushed forward, tearing at the old wood with his hands. Boards snapped and splintered. Beneath them was a hidden hatch, small but strong. He pulled it open, revealing a dark stairway leading underground. They hurried down, the hatch closing above them. The sounds of chaos outside dulled, though the distant shrieks of hunters still reached their ears. The stairway led to a chamber built of stone, lit faintly by glowing crystals that pulsed with soft blue light. The soldier froze in awe. Lined along the walls were strange objects, metal devices unlike any human weapon. Symbols etched into them glowed faintly, written in the alien language of the widow's husband. She stepped forward slowly, her hands trembling as she touched one of the weapons. Her eyes filled with tears. He built these for this moment. He knew the hunters would come again. The soldier's voice shook. "What are they?" "Not guns," she said. "Not blades. These are breakers. They bend the light that hides the hunters. Without their cover, the hunters bleed like any living thing." The soldier stared at the weapon. It looked like a long staff, fitted with crystal cores that hummed softly. He picked one up, feeling a surge of strange energy flow into his arms. It was heavy, but it felt alive. The widow's voice lowered. "He died trying to bring them here. No one believed him. They laughed at him the way they laugh at me. And now the colony burns for their pride." The soldier clenched his jaw. He thought of the guards dying on the walls, of the families hiding in cellars. He thought of the way the people had looked away when the widow was dragged through the streets. His heart hardened. "Then we use them. Tonight." She nodded. "But you cannot fight alone. You must make them listen. You must make them see the truth." The soldier hesitated. "They won't listen to me. They don't even listen to their own fear." Her gaze was sharp. "Then they will listen to survival. When you carry this weapon, when you bring down one of the hunters, they will have no choice but to follow." Before he could answer, the ground shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling. The screeches outside grew louder. The hunters were tearing deeper into the colony, searching, destroying. The widow's face was pale, but her voice held steel. "We must go back. If we stay hidden, they will kill everyone. If we act now, we can turn the tide." The soldier gripped the staff tighter, feeling its energy hum through his body. For the first time since the attack began, he felt more than fear. He felt a spark of hope. They climbed back up the stairs, emerging into the storage hall. The night outside glowed red from fires. Screams filled the air, mingling with the monstrous hisses of hunters. The soldier stepped out first, raising the staff. A hunter turned, its body shimmering like liquid shadow. It screeched and lunged. The soldier braced himself and pressed the trigger hidden in the staff's grip. A beam of blue light burst forward, wrapping around the creature. Its shimmering cloak of bending light shattered like glass. For the first time, the hunter was revealed in full. Its pale skin stretched tight over its bones. Its body twisted and raw, its eyes dark pits. The people nearby gasped. Fear turned into shock. The soldier fired again, striking its chest. The creature shrieked, collapsing into the dirt. Black blood spilled across the stones, steaming as it burned. The widow stepped forward, her voice ringing loud and clear. "You see? They can be killed. You called me mad, but I told you, they are real, and they are here. If you want to live, follow us." The colony froze in silence for a heartbeat. Then a guard dropped his broken spear and rushed forward. "Give me one of those." Others followed, desperate now, their fear shifting into determination. The soldier tossed 2 more staffs into their hands. The blue glow lit their faces, hope mixing with terror. The widow stood tall, no longer the broken figure they had mocked, but a leader rising from ashes. Her voice carried across the chaos. "You ignored me. You left me to die. But I will still lead you, if you will follow. Together, we can survive." The people shouted, their fear turning into a roar of defiance. The soldier looked at her in awe. For the first time, he understood why her husband had trusted her with this secret. She was not crazy. She was the key to their survival. But even as they armed themselves, the ground shook harder. More hunters appeared in the distance, their shadows stretching across the burning colony. The first had fallen, but many more were coming. The truth had been revealed. Now the fight for survival would truly begin. The night sky burned red with fire and fear. The colony shook under the weight of the attack, but for the first time, hope sparked in the hearts of its people. The hunters were no longer shadows. The widow and the soldier had revealed their true form. The colony knew now that these monsters could bleed. The soldier stood in the middle of the courtyard, the glowing staff humming in his grip. Around him, guards and farmers, traders, and even children old enough to hold weapons gathered. Their faces were pale, but their eyes held fire. The widow raised her voice above the chaos. They called me mad, but the truth is here before your eyes. We cannot run. We cannot hide. We stand and fight, or we die. The crowd roared, fear mixing with courage. From the smoke, more hunters emerged. Their tall frames bent unnaturally, their claws scraping the stone as their hisses echoed. Their shimmering light tried to hide them again, but the staff weapons tore through their cloaks, stripping them bare. Now the humans could see what hunted them. Creatures pale and twisted, with black blood pumping through their veins. The first wave charged. The soldier fired, his beam tearing through a hunter's chest. The creature shrieked and collapsed. A farmer struck another with his staff, breaking its light and leaving it open to gunfire. Guards screamed as they fought side by side with merchants. For the first time, the colony was united, not by fear, but by survival. The widow moved among them, her voice guiding, her eyes sharp. Stay together. Watch the rooftops. Break their cover before they strike. Her frail body trembled, but her spirit was iron. Every word she spoke pushed the people harder, kept them standing when they wanted to fall. The battle raged on. Hunters leapt from walls, claws flashing, tails whipping through the air. One landed before the widow, its hiss shaking the ground. The soldier ran forward, shoving her aside and firing point blank. The light shattered, and the creature's scream pierced the night as it fell. "Stay behind me," he shouted, his chest burning with fear and resolve. But the widow shook her head. "No, I must be seen. They must know I still live, or they will lose hope." The soldier knew she was right. He clenched his jaw and turned back to the fight. The hunters were strong, but the colony fought harder. Each fallen beast gave the people more courage. Each drop of black blood reminded them that the monsters were not invincible. The staffs bent the light, rifles struck true, and fire lit the dark streets. Yet, for every hunter they killed, more came. From the wastelands, shadows poured in like a river of death. The ground shook under their weight, and their hisses grew louder, a storm of rage. The widow's face turned pale, but her eyes stayed fixed on the horizon. "This is only the first wave," she whispered, almost to herself. The soldier heard her and froze. "What do you mean, first wave?" She looked at him, her lips trembling. "The hunters never travel alone. This attack is only a test. The true swarm is still coming." His heart sank, but there was no time to speak. A massive hunter, larger than the rest, stepped from the flames. Its body shimmered with stronger light, its claws long enough to tear through stone. The people gasped in terror. The soldier gritted his teeth. "Then we bring it down together." He lifted his staff high, shouting to the crowd. "Aim for its cloak. Break it." Beams of blue light shot forward, striking the massive creature. Its shimmer cracked, fragments of bending light falling away like glass. The beast roared, charging through the streets. Walls crumbled under its strength. People scattered, but the soldier stood firm, firing again and again. Finally, the last shimmer broke. The creature stood naked in its true form, pale skin stretched tight, black veins pulsing. The soldier charged forward, plunging his staff deep into its chest. The weapon flared with light, and the monster screamed one last time before collapsing, shaking the ground. The colony erupted in cheers, but the widow did not smile. She stared into the distance, her face grim. The soldier turned to her, panting. "We did it. We stopped them." Her voice was steady but heavy with truth. "We stopped these, but others will come. Stronger, faster, endless. This is not the end. This is only the beginning. The people grew quiet, listening. Her words were not madness anymore. They were prophecy. The widow lifted her chin, her voice carrying across the colony. You left me to die. You doubted me. But tonight you stood with me and we survived. If we continue together, if we trust, if we fight, we can survive what is coming. Alone, we are nothing. United, we are more dangerous than the hunters will ever be. The crowd roared again, not in fear, but in defiance. They had seen the truth. They had fought together, and now they believed. The soldier stood beside the widow, his hand firm on the weapon. He knew the war was not over, but for the first time, he felt they had a chance. Above them, the stars glimmered, cold and endless. Somewhere out there, the swarm was already moving, already hunting. But in the heart of the burning colony, humanity stood ready. And the widow, once called mad, whispered the final words of the night. They will come again, but this time, we will be waiting.